Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Louis here today, and today I'm going to speak about seasons and the best and worst times to come to Switzerland. So I am Swiss and have lived here almost my whole life, and lately actually in my consultations I've had a lot of these questions about when it is good or is it good to come in April or in July, and so I wanted to address it and create that little video. So let's get into it. Starting with the spring that I'm defining between sort of end of March to mid-end of June. So starting with the pros of the spring. Spring in Switzerland has typically less people and less travelers overall, and which means that of course it's less crowded. That's great. It's also cheaper, so you have cheaper hotels. Hotel rates that you would pay very expensive in the summer will be much more affordable in the spring. Another great advantage about the spring is of course the flowers and the colors. You have suddenly a lot of flowers in the mountains that emerge, and for example above Montreux you have the narcissus about April and May that are just beautiful. It feels like there's still snow, but it's actually all flowers. So flowers overall will be a nice add-on to your spring vacation. And the last pro for spring is that it's also great just for city travel. I would say that if you come in April in Switzerland, planning some of your bases in cities are going to be better, and we'll speak now about why some of the mountain stuff is a little bit less good in the spring. So now about the cons of spring travel in Switzerland. So you could think, okay, spring, you're getting warmer, you have more sun, more daylight, etc. Yes, but actually you still have on top of mountains, and you're coming typically to Switzerland to be in the Alps, you still have a lot of snow on trails, on mountains, and so you don't have access and the opportunity in sort of March, April, and even part of May to do some of these summer activities in the mountains, because you'll have snow, because you'll have maintenance also. There is a lot of closure in April and beginning of May, and all of this make it that the things that you typically know and see about Switzerland, these Bonneau-Blanc region for example, is typically closed or not really accessible for the summer type of activities. Also about April and beginning of May, the weather is for me the most unpredictable of the whole year. It's very difficult to say if it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be like summer, or if it's still going to be winter during that month of course March, April, and even beginning of May might be a little bit volatile. So that's maybe a con for me. Of course, you know in winter that the weather is going to be very cold and it's going to be hot in the summer, but in April, May, this is where it's a little bit tricky. And so overall on the month, I would say that the worst month for me is April, because you have a lot of closures, a lot of maintenance on the gondolas, the mountain trains, etc. There's going to be disappointment actually, because you can't do that much in April in the mountains, and the best month is end of May, I'd say, and of course beginning of June, but end of May is a sweet spot where there's still not that many tourists and the weather begins to be beautiful and there is a lot to do. So if you are watching this video, you are obviously in the midst of planning a trip to Switzerland or maybe somewhere else in Europe. And we know that can feel overwhelming. There are so many things to consider when planning your trip. It's hard to determine where to even start. But what if I told you that you can curate your trip effortlessly in just a few clicks? With Alexis, we've spent years traveling in Switzerland, and we know that finding the right route, the best hotels, the best activities in between can take hours of research. That's why we are so excited to introduce this video's sponsored RoutePerfect. With RoutePerfect, you have multiple ways to plan your trip, from their curated classic itineraries, or even create your own full customized travel plan with their advanced trip planning systems that optimizes AI recommendations, leveraging crowdsourced databases and industry expertise. Unlike your standard AI, RoutePerfect builds trips using expert-created itineraries from thousands of professionals, tour guides, plus smart AI optimization, meaning you'll receive trusted, curated advice to plan the perfect adventure. Another great thing about them is that you can also pretty much book most of your trip with them: flights, cars, hotels, and experiences. RoutePerfect has partnered with Booking.com, so you can enjoy competitive rates, including your Genius Loyalty Program discount and rewards. When you book a hotel through RoutePerfect, you gain access to exclusive perks that enhance your overall trip experience, including audio city guides. A mobile trip organizer called Occasions and Events helps you stay up up to date on local events and activities in every destination. A question we hear time and time again is that you want to experience Switzerland beyond the hotspots and feel like a local. And with these features, you'll be able to go beyond the surface of the destination and truly discover Switzerland like never before. RoutePerfect makes it easy, stress-free, and tailored just for you. Check out the link on screen and in the description and start planning your dream trip today. So moving on to the summer and the pros. So the summer, of course, you have great weather, much more chances to have some blue sky and some warm weather. Of course, you have sometimes some rain like everywhere, but overall, this is a maximization of the chances to have great weather and some nice temperatures in the summer in Switzerland. It's also great because you have longer days, at least if you want to do a lot of different things. You have longer days. It peaks, of course, end of June, and overall in the summer, you'll have more time to do different things. So that's also a good advantage for the summer. In the summer, of course, it is the high season, so you have everything that is open. All the activities that you can dream of will be open for you. So this is, of course, a plus for the summer. And the last thing is also in the summer, this is when you have the most festivals and events of the whole year. Everything almost is happening in the summer. We'll see a little bit in the fall, but there's a lot to do in the summer. You have music festivals, you have also different traditional festivals, alpine festivals. So a lot to do and experience in the summer. And so that's part of why a lot of people come in the summer. And so this brings me to the cons of the summer. Of course, you all know this, you have much more people. So a month like July is quite crowded, and also prices are rising. So you have very expensive prices on hotels, especially. The rest is okay. You have some surge pricing on different mountain activities, but overall, this is the hotels that is quite expensive. And so that's something to take into consideration. Or you can also just not go to the most crowded areas. For example, the Bono Oberland in the summer is quite crowded, and so going a little bit further in villages that are less touristy might be a way to mitigate a little bit this risk of having some high prices, or also booking early, of course. And overall, the best and worst month in the summer, I'd say the best month would be actually sort of end of August, beginning of September. If you define still summer as beginning of September, you don't have the sort of school travel or going with families. We are family, but it's just you have less people overall. I've observed this also over time. I'd say that end of August is not that crowded. And the worst month for me, in terms of crowds at least, is July. You have a lot of people that come in July. So if you want to avoid crowds, you can avoid July, but otherwise, of course, the whole summer is beautiful and very nice for all activities. Moving on to the next season, this is the fall. I define it between September and November, beginning of December. And so the fall, I think, should be split into two sub-seasons, because there's really a difference in just a few weeks actually between the first part of fall and the last part of fall. I define this moment as sort of the 20th of October. Before that, you have the summer part of the fall, and then you have the winter part of the fall. So in terms of the pros, you have overall a bit less people than the summer, but it's also a pro that you have still all the summer activities that are open and available until that 20th of October, kind of. So for me, this is a great time to come to Switzerland because you'll be able to do all the mountain activities, but you have less people, less crowds. You have also cheaper hotels overall, at least cheaper than in the summer. So that's really a nice time to come. When talking about the second part of the fall, so sort of end of October to beginning of December, this is, of course, less crowded, but you have all the activities. It's a little bit like the month of April. You have all the activities that are kind of gone. You have, of course, always activities. You can go see villages, you can go see cities, but the mountain activities are going to be much more restricted. And so that's something to take into consideration. For example, if you're coming for Thanksgiving here, this is always a little difficult for people that want to do all these things that they see during the summer, but will be closed. And so that's something to to take into consideration. In that first part of the fall, you have also a lot of events and different festivals. You have these harvest festivals around grapes and wine. You also have all these cow parades that we love to see every year around September. So there's still a lot that is happening culturally in the fall, or that first part of the fall. In the second part of the fall, you'll have sort of mid-November and on, it depends where, but it starts around mid-November. You'll have some Christmas markets, so you have that winter part of the feeling of the fall that will be there, depending on the cities. So if you are coming for Thanksgiving, you'll have some of these Christmas markets to enjoy. In the fall, of course, you have the fall foliage. This is around October, and this is just amazing and beautiful. There is a map that gives you every year when it's expected to be at peak on myswitzerland.com. I'll have a link below, and you can then time or go to the right place to enjoy a fall foliage. And last but not least, fall is also game season. So you have these different dishes around meat if you are a meat eater. If you do like meat, this is a really great time of the year. They have so many different things on the plate. I love it. So this is also something to consider if you're coming in the fall. And on the cons for the fall, for the first part of the fall, I'd say that overall you have just shorter days than in the summer. So you have to plan a little bit more, and you can't have day excursions that are as long as in the summer. But this is pretty much it for the first part of the fall. The second part of the fall, you'll have all these closures, and even the different panoramic trains like the Glacier Express closes around mid-October. You have a lot of mountain gondolas and trains that close during that time. So for me, this is a big con, and this is something to take into consideration. And best and worst month of the fall, for me, the month of September is really sort of, it feels like summer. You have less people, it's a little bit cheaper, you still can do everything. So September, hands down, is a great month to come. And the worst month for me is November. You have shorter days, you have also colder weather, it's very wet, you have not a lot of things to do because at least in the mountains, everything is closed or for maintenance. It's in between the summer season and the ski season. November, a little bit more sad, but if you are coming for Thanksgiving, for example, you can go for the villages and for the cities, and you'll have a great time in Christmas markets and more. And finally, winter, starting with the pros. Of course, you have that kind of winter wonderland feeling with the snow. If you're going in the Alps at that time of year, this is something that you can dream of. I dream of it and I love doing this. So there's also all the snow activities. If you like skiing, sledding, and just being in the snow, this is, of course, a great season for it. You also have Christmas markets that are open in the month of December, and so that can be also a great thing to do in Switzerland. But overall, so you have less crowds in cities, you have all the Swiss people that are going in the Alps if you're thinking about January, February, so not that crowded cities to explore and enjoy. On the cons of winter, you have shorter days, so also something to plan, or you'll have at least the night that will fall at like 5:30 even in December, January. Another thing is, of course, it's cold, so if you are coming to Switzerland in the winter, you should be prepared for it and have all the different layers and equipment to withstand that cold. And one last con is the prices for ski resort and mountain villages. This is when people in Switzerland and also outside of Switzerland come to Switzerland to ski. It's a short period of time, so prices are quite high in February. I'd say January less, and end of December it can be also very pricey if you want to go to Zermatt, for example, or to other places in the Oberland region. This is really pricey, so that's something to take into consideration. And best and worst months in the winter, for me, the best month is January. You have much less crowds, and the winter is at its almost peak. I'd say you have a lot of snow, it hasn't melted yet, and it has snowed a lot. So you have all the different activities that are typically available and accessible. And the worst month is probably February for the crowds, because you have all the Swiss holidays that are sort of mid to end of February. This is something to avoid if you want to avoid high prices and more crowds. And of course, around Christmas until New Year, this is also very high season for all the Swiss people and more. So that's also, of course, when you want to come, it's just going to be more crowded and more pricey. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it is useful and helpful to plan your trip. I hope that I didn't discourage you to come to Switzerland when you were going to come, because anyway, you're going to have a nice time. You just need to adapt a little bit your activities based on the time of year when you come and the opening, closures, and weather. If you have more questions, if you want to have more of a conversation with me about this, about other things, about trains, about planning your itinerary and more, I do travel consultations, so I sit on a 45-minute call with you and we can go through all your questions and we can also help you further. We also create custom itineraries and more, so check out our website for all of this. But this is it for me. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video. Bye guys.
Hey guys, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
If you want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.